Hey everybody, back with another off-season interview. This time I am joined by newly minted Team Westside player, Mr. Matty O, Matt Oram. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How y'all doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I honestly think what you just did is the single thing I'm looking forward to most this next season is big putts and then the big W coming out. So first things first though, man, how are you feeling? New contract, new bag of discs. Is it a rejuvenated feeling?
It is a rejuvenated feeling. It's kind of almost a reborn feeling because I feel like this is the first time I've actually have like a real job now.
Yeah.
Like I take it serious, and I'm truly happy at enjoying the new process of the new transition. And I've had thrown the frisbees before, so I kind of know what I'm used to. Actually, almost kind of got almost a bag set up for whenever the time's right. And yeah, I'm looking really forward to it.
Well, what has life been over the last couple of weeks? I can imagine it's probably been a little hectic. You know, the announcement coming out a little bit earlier than you guys wanted to, unfortunately. But what's like the last couple of weeks been for you?
Personally, because I'm honest, I've had a little bit of cabin fever. I've had some car problems.
Ooh.
And two, it's been kind of different because I got me an agency with scans, so he's doing all the the good work, the dirty work. I don't know what you want to get out of it. So dealing all with that, it's kind of just been communicating with him while I've had the cabin fever. And I mean, honestly, I'm hitting that kind of like age to me where I was under a lot of pressure internally, just because I know I'm hitting where I'm about to turn 34. So there's not too many contracts left in me, and especially with the growth of the game. So it was kind of really important to me right now in a timeline, that I had to kind of make something happen to where I can really do this. And it did. And it's a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked for everyone in the disc golf community. You know, from the bottom up, it really over the past 2 years has grown so much and opened up a lot of opportunities. For players, especially like yourself, where you've dominated regionally, you've been very competitive at the very tippity top of the sport, but it's honestly in the past couple years where your name and brand value has really reached out. And what has it been like over the last 18 months to hear more people yelling "Roll Tide" and screaming "Matty O" probably than ever before?
Oh man, it's been definitely been crazy. It came fast. Honestly, it's kind of funny because I was telling people I used to remember every tournament. Like, I guess because I quit traveling like full time pretty much, I'd say about 2013, 14, since the A tours, So I can almost remember every shot I threw at every tournament because I only went out once or twice a month, to play. I remember everything I did that tournament, but I can't even remember anything I threw at Preserve. I can't tell you what I threw on Ledgestone Black. I don't even remember driving from Preserve to Ledgestone, stuff like that, because everything was just going so fast this time. I'm like, what was I doing out there? And it wasn't because I was making wrong decisions. I literally was out there doing good. I'm like, man, what did I do out there? What was the drive like from Ledgestone to Idlewild? I don't even know like how I got there.
Totally. No, it is crazy. It's you start the season and it's been like this more and more over the past couple, and it just like one into the other, into the other, into the other. And so it really allows for somebody to be a full-time touring disc golfer, but it doesn't necessarily allow for somebody to enjoy life outside of disc golf quite as much as it was in the past. One thing that you're going to be enjoying next year, though, are your new bag of discs. I want to talk to you a little bit about the sponsorship, about how it came about. Talk to me about the timeline. You've been with Prodigy for a few years now. How and when did the, consideration of switching come up?
The consideration came, honestly, I tried to do what Saban told me to do, my Nick Saban, I knew this was my contract year, and just knowing some personal things in disc golf, kind of know I don't think there's many contracts this year. It's kind of like, I think there'll be a lot more because it's just the timing of all the players. But I told myself not to think about money, not to think about, just try to go out there and do the best I can and keep just going on the thing. And honestly, it was until about when I got done with Vermont, when I had that little like 2 weeks of coming home, and I stopped by the Prodigy factory, and that's when the kind of like start of like, oh, I got to start negotiating. But I really wait till after Pro Tour because, you know, anything can happen at USGC. If I start negotiating before USGC and all that, you know, what if I would have, you know, almost won it or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Happen if I would have not cashed and had a terrible, like, you know, anything. I don't know what. So I just wanted to wait for everything. Yep. And honestly, I went, Cameron called me one day and was like, look, you need this guy. And that was Scans. And I literally got on board real quick. And it was about exactly the day the Drew Gibson contract came out is when I signed with Scans. And so that was kind of like a good, you know, person. I was like, bam, well, heck yeah. You know what I'm saying? After that, it's been like the internal cabin fever and just patiently waiting and all that game. Yeah. But first choice, he asked me who my first choice was, honestly, and I'll just go ahead and say it, was DD. In
the family.
I even secretly told you that at DG. I said I have a feeling it would be DD. Yeah. But I guess I'm Roll Tide and I like Cousins. I guess they just sent me over to the Westside, you know. So, you know.
No, I love it. And honestly, the way
they told me.
Yeah, and the way I see it almost is like Westside is building quite a team. You know, they've got Nico was the splash signing net last year, yourself this year. Those are two names that are insanely popular. And, you know, you guys go back a long time in disc golf. Did you talk to Nico at all? Did you guys communicate at all about Westside or making the switch?
No, but yes, because whenever it was getting near the end of the season, I played with a little group like Emerson and Nico. We played a little practice round with Zach Johnson. And he kind of pulled me aside and was like, hey, you know, it wouldn't be a bad idea that because they probably looking for somebody that got a little something, you know. He was talking just the trilogy, anybody in trilogy. And I was like, yeah, something to think about it. But he was kind of the first one that threw it at me, you know, a little bit, just kind of like, hey, think about it though, you know. And me and him are really good friends, and he's pretty much was like my first rival in disc golf. I felt. So, and then whenever I just kind of when I took that break, honestly, we came back, we became a lot more friends. Not that we were never, but so it'll be cool. I can see us doing some stuff together. Guaranteed.
Totally. You mentioned Scans and DGPM. They're making a splash this season as far as upping the representation game in disc golf. And, you know, historically, that's been something that's been lacking. It's been on the players to advocate for themselves. And, you know, a lot of people have been in the dark regarding numbers, contracts, all that good stuff. So, you know, what has it been like signing a contract now as compared to maybe, you know, when you signed with Prodigy or when you were even with Lat before that? What's the process? How's that been different?
It's definitely been a lot different. I like it a lot more because, you know, I listen to like Dan Patrick all the time and just knowing like all the show and all that all the time and just hearing what they go through with agents. I think you almost have to have an agent. Like now that the sport's getting serious, it really is good to have a representative because it kind of sucks. I mean, when you really are trying to get a big contract, you know, it kind of sucks to have to almost like literally have to brag about yourself to the company. And like, you know, and having somebody to kind of brag for you is a lot better. Like, in a way, I mean, I know it's like a weird way to put it, but it's kind of true, you know, and then that way you don't have a personal beef with the business. It's just the agent's doing everything they can for you. You don't lose your personal relationship with the owner of the company you're trying to go to or vice versa, you know? So that helps a lot. And it just makes it a lot easier on me, a lot easier. It's just the anxiety and having to communicate and just really stressful life stuff that when I really just want to play, you know, I feel like I can't be a businessman and a player yet, you know.
No, I totally feel you.
And let me do my playing, you know.
And it really is two different worlds. And, you know, speaking as someone who's lived in the freelance world a lot, which is very similar to being, you know, you guys are in essence freelance athletes. You know, you will work for someone, And having to negotiate terms and put a value on yourself is, you said it, a little bit of anxiety. It can really be a tough conversation to have. So seeing DGPM, seeing Scan step up for a lot of you guys and trying to figure out where's the best value and how much value, it's really been awesome to see, from Drew to you to Eric Oakley, a lot of people taking advantage of that. Let's talk about the announcement a little bit, because that's where maybe there's a little gray area. It was clear that you were going to leave Prodigy at one point. They made a post and kind of jumped the gun on the announcement a little bit. How did that come about? How did you hear about it? What's your take on that?
Honestly, Corey, I'm just going to plead the whole fifth on the situation. I want to say I just want to thank Prodigy for everything they've done.
Yeah,
they did me really right, and I loved their team members and loved the people that work in the company, but I just felt like it was time for a good change, and a new, something to keep me striving, a new chapter, and keeps me. Westside was the one I think I definitely had the aura around it that I was going for, ready for the new step.
Well, let's talk about the new stuff a little bit, and it kind of ties into the old stuff, because you were with Lat 64 for a few years before Prodigy. Now you're kind of back in that trilogy family. Do you already have discs lined up? What are you going to be focusing on? Are you going to take some time to kind of learn some of the new molds? Where are you at with your new bag?
Honestly, I looked the other day on the page. There's only about 5 new Westside discs since I was there. That's the Westside lineup. I haven't tried the Gatekeeper. I haven't tried the Adder, I think is how you pronounce it. And there's a couple, I think the Pine. I think the Maiden might be my putter, because I like a thin putter now, kind of like a MJ style putter. Maybe not with the right, but I like a thinner style putter, just the quick little. So the Maiden might be my jam. I'm thinking by reading with the pro. I've never felt just reading being like a kind of like a beginner kind of guy. I'm like, it looks like my kind of thing. But I got an RE bag set up. I really like this Trust. I really like the Royal Plastic by Latitude. It's got it's 5-star and consistent, like very consistent made plastic. Like everything comes out really consistent on each mold, like in batch. What else do I got? Let me see. I kind of put to the side because I'm still. I still can't throw them yet. But
well, when's the date? What is the date that you're actually going to be making the switch?
January 1st.
Oh, January 1st. Okay.
Honestly, that'd be a good way. Let me to be determined on this subject. All right.
You got to hit up Scans real quick, get the data.
Yeah. I haven't played no tournaments or nothing. I haven't. So.
Yeah. Well. It's actually so funny. You were mentioning the beginner thing again. You're online reading the profiles. Have you been it's something that I think a lot of players go through when they switch manufacturers is a renewed excitement to go play and go throw these discs. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. And it's not like a knock or nothing, but Prodigy only has maybe 35 molds total.
Yeah.
And I think Westside might have 35 molds itself, so not including Latitude or Dynamic. So, I didn't even go through Dynamic or Latitude's list. I know they might have discontinued my Flow, which is my favorite disc. The Even Flow is what I used to call it.
Got one right here.
That one right there.
Boom, boom. This is actually from your bag. I'm sorry I never gave it back after USDGC, but here it is.
I found that. And I lost that when I was with them last time, actually, and I just got it back probably an hour before I gave it to you.
Oh, well, sorry about that. Meant to get it back to you.
No, that's all you. That thing's money. Everybody, I highly recommend the old Flows, and Latitude, I highly recommend bringing it back, and in that Royal Plastic. That would probably be a good.
So have you messed around with those new Royal, the new line of discs that Latitude's making? They have the Rive, the Grace, the Faith.
I haven't, but I played with Emerson Keith, and I stayed with him at the DGPT, and he just because I was talking, I had a feeling. He gave me 5 discs, and one of them was the Trust, Ballista Pro. What was the disc we were just talking about?
The Rive, the Grace?
The Rive. I like the Rive. I have a feeling that one's going to be, but I also watched him play the whole time. I played every practice with them, so I got to see him fly, and they all seemed, and the plastic. I'm more of a plastic than the mold kind of guy, so the plastic lot is really nice. So that's something I'm always about.
Yeah, you're one of those players that I am not nervous about switching. Kind of like the James Conrad is in a similar boat in that way that, like, there's not a disc on earth that you guys would not be able to throw well. You know, did you factor that in at all? Is that something that, like, were you concerned about maybe if I switch to this manufacturer, they won't have this disc, or is it just like, give me a paper plate and I'm going to go birdie with it?
Well, I think Saban would say, I wouldn't think I should sign a contract with this thing if I don't think I couldn't do it. So I know very willing to be able to switch very easy, especially with all the options I have. You know, I have so many options. That's kind of the reason I haven't been able to hold this conversation right here, this last topic, because there's so many choices. I'm like, I don't even know where to even start or where to go with it, because there's so many choices. Like, I might throw a Bard one week, but I could throw a Verdict the next week. I feel like I could definitely be switching my disc in and out this year more than ever.
Yeah, no question. So the new contract, it's been, were you 3 or 4 years with Prodigy?
4 years, two twos.
Okay, cool. 2 twos. So, you've been sponsored for a long time, like a couple decades now, and 15, 7, whatever, a long time. What was the difference negotiating for a new deal or going through this whole process now as compared to maybe the other 5 or 6 times? I'm even thinking like 2007 era, 2008 when you were signing a deal.
Well, this one was a lot easier because of the agent, because he actually got to reach out to everybody. But I always tell, I guess, and player, new people, they're like, one of the main questions they always ask when they ask me is, how do you get sponsored? And I'm like, I tell them the truth. I'm like, look, my dad was best friends with Innova, ill business with them, and I still had to ask them myself when I was 1,000 rated, young up-and-comer, to be sponsored. Like, they almost ever come out. They never come to you. Yeah. So I always have to tell them, you have to just man up and tell them yourself. Like, they're never going to come to you, even if you're, the phenom, new up-and-comer. You're still going to have to go and approach them or whatever. So that's one that I always like. That's one thing about the process is having to reach out, like in the old school days, there was just, almost anything was good. And with the COVID, and Macbeth doing what he's doing and making the game grow with that part of the business side too, it's been, it's kind of a questionable what's going to happen next topic too, which is awesome in a good way.
Great. And so you mentioned at the top of the interview, you've had a little bit of cabin fever, largely because of car issues. I know that as far as me and you talking, that's always a topic of conversation. So, Matty, please tell me with this new contract that you're going to have a new whip. What's the plans? Are you not driving the beast anymore, right? Please tell me.
Oh, it's on vacation on the side of the road right now. No, I've had cabin fever. It's I don't know. It's got some kind of temperature gauge problem or something. That's like, we already got the water pump changed and it didn't work. This time its vacation wasn't as nice. The last vacation it took was by Tulane, and the other one was Gulf of Dolphin Island. This time it just decided to break down 65 on the sideline. So
what's the plans? Is there a tour vehicle? Are you going to, when Nico signed to Westside, he ended up in a Sprinter van, because he's obviously doing the full-time tour. I know you probably aren't going to quite go on that level. You've got people at home that you're responsible for and want to be around. So what's the driving situation going to be, coming into next season?
Honestly, they asked me what I wanted, and I said, I want a house and kind of a car kind of guy. A van and a car and a house is a little too much for me. Yeah. And I'm happy in a car. I'm simple. And van, I'm not trying to, there's a lot of benefits to it, but I ain't trying to knock it either. But there's a lot of benefits to it, like where you park it, where you can go to the bathroom, like showering. I'm kind of tall and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like old school too. I don't mind getting air here and there, of split notes. I mean, I don't, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're kind of in the Nico Barsby family of like, there's people, you have a network all across the country of people that you've stayed with at certain tournaments before. You have no problem kind of going and having people host you too. So that's another large difference in the value of a van versus the car, right? Is like, if you have a community around the country that's willing to host you, the van loses a little bit of that value.
Yeah, and I like that culture stuff. I like seeing I like eating dinner and see what they talk about their dinner table, you know. Stuff like that. I like that. I think that's what made me a lot, was when I was younger, just going and being around so many different people and eating dinner at Josh Romine and his family's house with, I'm like, I'll put my napkin on my lap here, stuff, I'm like, stuff like that. I like it. So
yeah, no, and I think that people really like you too, because I feel like you do get along very well, and it's like a very respectful, like you respect everyone's energy that they're putting out there. And, and I think that is in turn brought back to you as well. I think you have a good relationship with the fans and with the community at large. For 2022 though, let's talk about where you're going to be, because if you say that you're not coming to the West Coast again, I swear to you, Matty, I'm going to be so ticked off. Are you coming out here this time?
Okay. You're going to hate me, Corey.
No, don't you do it.
Okay. I'm not coming to the West Coast except for Vegas and maybe Memorial.
Okay, well.
I told him I said I would do every Pro Tour event except for OTB.
You dirty dog.
But I said I would do Europe to make up for it. So, because it's the timing of it too, because there's a strong early season thing. And it's, I believe the California stretch is in May. It's kind of way out there with and it's just gives me a last little stretch to be home. My last little before the heat of Alabama, so I can enjoy here, maybe run a tournament, do my little last home thing before I do the tour for the summer. And just a little, I think it's good for my more of a mental health thing and all the thing. And
totally.
And that's open long golf out there too. And, I'll let them have that. Sorry, but I do miss not going to the West Coast. It's been a while and I really want to go back out there really bad.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, no matter what the situation, tournament, not tournament, you're always welcome here in San Francisco. We've got a spot for you. But you mentioned that you wanted to run a tournament while you were home. And that's something that I think is really interesting about you, your situation, and where you are. Your father had an insane thing going with the Southern Nationals, Sky South this, that whole thing. I know that we've talked personally about you kind of maybe wanting to slide into doing that more and more, running tournaments, being like a brand ambassador in the Southeast. Is that something that you've put any thought into? And have you talked to like Westside or the Trilogy as being part of that?
I've talked to Scans about, because he was my negotiator, and honestly, and just I told him I really want to like basically become the Kel LaVisca of the Southeast, in a way to put it, like where I want it to have kind of a evenly. I mean, I want to play, not saying more than Kel, but like a little more than him. But I might not be able to do as much off the course stuff, but end up building it into something like he is now. Like, kind of end up balancing out to where he's at now later. But I want to like design courses down in the Southeast, mainly in like the I-10 corridor, like Houston to Panama City. That's kind of what I want to kind of make my little region. Like kind of where I kind of like Kel has his Minnesota region. I kind of want that to be my little corridor, like where that's kind of what I focus on mainly, just to kind of, put my thing into. And I love running tournaments. I love AMs. I know how to treat them. I feel like my dad taught me how to treat everybody the same at a tournament. And he just told me how to respect people and values of people coming to play the event. I'm really good at that too. And I love running events, and I kind of want to, it keeps me healthy in disc golf, just having to not worry about competing all the time, and I can talk and still have my love of the game, doing other things, basically like being a player. And then I have injuries and I want to turn myself into a coach. So because I can't play no more, it's basically kind of the same philosophy of where I'm going to.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of coaches, Mike McCarthy last night, you guys might have taken a little bit of beat down. Walk me through your mindset after that Chiefs 19-9 win over the Cowboys last night.
Well, to tell you the truth, I ended up going to an ace toss yesterday, and I had to do some things, and I knew we were going to lose, so I didn't watch about 10 minutes because honestly, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm not trying to knock Dak. Dak's never been watching him for 6 years, and that guy's never won a big game in his life.
Okay, well, that leads me to my next question. What's the outlook? 2021 Cowboys 7-3 now. Are they going to the playoffs? Are they going to make a Super Bowl run? I mean, we could be chasing down a Patriots Cowboys Super Bowl if everything plays right.
Tampa Bay's still going to give it a good go. They got their division on lockdown with the Saints with Jameis going down. But I'm thinking Green Bay and Dallas in the NFC Championship. I'm not going to say a winner yet because it's to be determined. And I can see the AFC being interesting. The Patriots are getting good. Mac Jones is doing really good. He does what I've been preaching to everybody in the world for the last 8 years. He gets rid of the ball quick, and I don't understand why everybody else don't. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Think of it. And I think, you know, it's coming back. And, yeah, the AFC is a lot trickier because there's just so much changes going on. And I think it's all going to revolve around injuries and who's the most healthy, who's the hottest.
Yeah, as is tradition in the NFL. A couple things, you know, before we get you out of here, you know, what's it been like for you? This is kind of like, you know, off the top, touring's been a little bit different for you over the last, like since COVID. You know, you've got someone at home now, and how has it been balancing travel with home life when it's maybe a little bit more pressing to get back home and you have people back home that are like, you know, missing you in a way that maybe wasn't the case for the couple years before that?
It's definitely been different. I think it's good for me though, because it keeps me, you know, wanting to strive to do the good things and make sure I stay on top of my stuff, because I know this is more of a business than more of a vacation now. Stuff like that. But it gives me a well balance, and it gives me goals. It gives me inspiration. It gives me reason. So it all happens. But then, no pun intended, it gives me good. I'm like, all right, I get a little break. And no, I'm just kidding. But like, I get a little time now. But I like it all. It's just been new, and it's going to be different next year, adjusting, because it happened fast for her, because I wasn't traveling when we met, and I didn't expect to travel as much as I did last year, and at one time, and then it happened to get, you know, and now, so it's going to be, but she's supportive, and it's that's kind of why I want that well balanced though of a career, like we were talking in the last subject, and so I can be able to come home, because I don't mind doing 3 to 5 weeks, but I'm not one of those James Conrads to not come home. And I like just get a little feel and then be able to go back, you know, just a little bit. That's why I don't really necessarily need a van too.
Yeah, no, totally. And, you know, this contract does represent a significant quality of life, you know, boost for you and the people at home and your whole crew. So what is it? How does it feel like a legitimizer? Because this is like a real contract, right? This is, you know, this isn't some like, you know, slap on the butt, go throw some discs, here's 50 discs type of contract. This is like a real 2021 modern deal. Has that legitimized you and legitimized, you know, maybe it's a little bit easier to be okay with you going for a couple weeks when you have the backbone of a new contract like this?
Well, I definitely, changed a lot, and it's been in a week, because I'm like thinking about different things, thinking about like health insurance now, and kind of do different, because I actually have a different outlook, because I have a different chance. So just have a different outlook on everything right now, in a good way, like adulting way. And definitely I don't even know how to explain it yet. Just glad and fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to be able to not play for money, basically on the turn at the, more play for the trophy.
Yep.
And I get the ability to do that a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself going out and taking down a big one this year?
I definitely see it, like, because we play in the woods a little bit, and me not going to the OTV and the Portland. I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to do good in Vegas, and that's going to be my opening day. I want to give it. They always play good there, and maybe I'll call that one my. Maybe I'll call that one my. That's my pick.
Really, your lock of the week?
Yeah, surprisingly Vegas.
Interesting, man. I heard you talking about this open golf like it wasn't your specialty, and Vegas is about as the epitome of open golf as we get on tour.
But it's like old school open golf. It's not like,
No, the distance isn't overwhelming. You can make it happen without a 900-foot roller, and yeah.
And I get to play it all in the off season, so maybe they'll be a little rusty or something, because it's warm down here.
Yeah. So what is the off-season weather like in Mobile? Because I know during the summer it is brutality, but what are we working with down there right now?
Like yesterday was 75 and perfect. Today we have to go through, and it looks like kind of like scary movie scene, kind of like Halloween movie scene kind of look. So we're like a month behind all the people up north, but yeah, it's starting to get fallish. But we only get about a month of fall up here.
Yeah,
and it turns to winter. But it's so much humidity in there. When it gets like 50, it feels like 40. So it's kind of. But then when it gets hot, it's like extra hot. So it's kind of got like weird. When it gets low, it gets colder. But when it gets warm, it gets warmer because of humidity.
What a treat Mobile, Alabama weather is. Matty, listen, it's been an absolute joy to sit here and chat with you. It always is. But I want to give you a chance. Is there anything that you would like to shout out? Any thanks? Anything you want to say before we get you out of here?
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Westside and Trilogy. Thank you for taking a chance on me, and I'll give it 100%. First downs all the way. Cruise. I want to give a shout out to Scans. He's done so much for me, and I appreciate you, everything, and you and the DGPM done for me. I mean, they got a lot of bright future and great ideas to start the sport, and they've taken the first step to do this, and it's awesome. And shout out to you and everybody on the Pro Tour for doing everything y'all do, and everybody on the Gulf Coast and the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, I love it, Matty. Man, you really are a national treasure. I'm glad that we've been able to become friends over the years, and I can't wait till we get to hang out next time. But listen, again, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can get that car fixed sometime soon, so you can get back on the road playing. But that's about all I have for this interview. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for interviews and coverage of all things disc golf.